play the part of a man. I might not have felt like a man, but that didn't stop me from acting how I thought a man should act. I should have been nominated for an Oscar based on how well I played the confidently cool, good-looking guy with the answers, but who was aloof enough to not care if you knew. Except, I did care. A lot. For 30 years, I had perfected the art of looking good, and not just physically. Growing up in the church had taught me not just the right answers to theological questions, but how to be authentic without being vulnerable. Being bullied about my weight in middle school trained me to look good physically. My competitive nature drives me to be the best, or at least not the worst. This resulted in a pretty attractive package on the outside. I can honestly say that people like me, but all the effort to look good and craft an image I wanted people to see had an unintended consequence. They liked the image, but they didn't know me. But this time, I couldn't play the part. With everything happening back home, I was so emotionally drained that I didn't have the energy to pretend. Over the course of the weekend, that gnawing sense of loneliness began to creep from the back of my head to the front and settle into my consciousness. During the scheduled solitude times throughout the weekend, I began to clearly see that I was unknown. Not just by those at the retreat, but I was unknown in most of my relationships in life. I didn't share this with my retreat small group because, frankly, I didn't know how to. 30 years of practicing pretense meant that sharing what I truly felt scared the hell out of me. It would be death by exposure. I wasn't ready for that. Nor was I ready to share something that would be a blemish on the image I had spent 30 years perfecting. The last session of the retreat was a prayer time. It was a time to share with one of the retreat leaders what God had revealed to each of us over the weekend and get prayer. You probably know what is going to happen here, and you're right. I went up for prayer. I stood in front of Jim, who has now become a dear friend and mentor. He put his hand on my shoulder, looked me in the eye, and softly smiled. "What's going on?" And then it began to slowly come out. "I feel lonely." "Why?" "Because I don't feel like anyone really knows me." "Why?" I've learned my 4-year-old can be a spiritual director, considering the fact that he asks the same question so often. I don't let anyone get too close. I feel like if they really get to see me, then they will reject me. If they see all of me, then they will see I'm not good enough. "Where else does this show up in your life?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. Where else does this show up? My mind scrambled because if I didn't come up with a decent answer, I would look horrible. Heaven forbid that I look bad telling someone how I feel like crap. At that point, I had a decision to make. Do what I normally do and find a way to save face and come out looking good, or be honest. Maybe it was because I was tired, but for some unknown reason, I chose to be honest. That decision has changed my life. In that moment of honesty, the answer to Jim's question came almost immediately, but it surprised me. For crying out loud, I was a pastor. It couldn't be true, but it was. With God, I don't let him close because I think he will reject me. It was an extremely emotional few moments for me. I talked about how it felt to acknowledge that God felt distant. I became present to how frightening it was to functionally believe that God could unconditionally love everyone, but that he would probably reject me. And Jim did everything right. He listened. He empathized. And then he told me that in 2 years of knowing me, this was the first time he felt like he could be near me. Jim affirmed the reality I have since discovered more fully. I had let my guard down. And in that moment, he came near and told me that now, in my vulnerability, I was approachable, knowable, lovable. My efforts at projecting the perfect image made me unapproachable.